students, graduates, and alumni. Dimitris asked me if it was able to organize an event for our alumni, which is related to Alumni Unite. So for people who will go there, it might be a good preparation already to listen to this webinar and continue with it during the event itself. But Dimitris will tell you about a little bit more. So Dimitris will tell his story, and we will ask you to wait with asking questions until he finishes his presentation. And when you want to ask a question at the end of this presentation, you just click on the little hand on your right-hand side, and then we'll give you the floor to ask your question. Sorry. So now we'll give the floor to Dimitris.
Sure.
Dimitris,
thank
please
you,
go ahead.
And, yeah, good afternoon to everybody. Well, before I start, I would just like to let you know a little bit what is the idea behind it, what I would like you to get out of this webinar. After that, I will present a little bit why I'm talking about it, and then we will dive right into it. So basically, leaving this webinar, you will know if you should approach potential contact at that specific space and time. You'll know how to succeed in your one and only first impression, how to create an environment that will allow for open communication. But most importantly, you will find out which are the 3 goals of pitch conversation and what are the 5 mistakes you need to avoid. Why I'm talking about it? My expertise is helping clients understand professional networks so they can have an advantage in corporate relations, career advancement, community building, business development, marketing, and more. I'm a person who loves understanding why people do what they do, how they develop relations, why they trust and buy from one company, not from another, how the right relations can transform an otherwise boring life into a wonderful adventure, both personally and professionally. Another thing I always love to do, something that people with engineering background have in common, is to transform ideas into actions. You know, most organizations struggle because they don't have employees that can start things. Just start. So many people have brilliant ideas, but ideas get you nowhere. I believe that strategic action does. So putting that together with the previous one, I help clients create structures around ideas. We go from strategy, vision, and goals all the way down to daily actionable items. Ideas this way are transformed into actions and results. Then, together, we identify the right network development strategy so we can have the support of the right people. Action gives results, people open doors, and together you can create impact. Now, I know that all this might sound a little bit abstract, and rightfully so. So let me give you a couple of examples that show you how understanding professional networks in a deeper level can create a huge difference in an organization. First thing, career advancement. How many people feel that they are in the wrong position, that their skills are not utilized? And how many people feel that they don't get enough credit for their work because they don't know about it? Other people don't know what they have done. Instead, they spend hours working on areas that they are not good at or interested in, or they are just unemployed. Companies are losing billions every year due to the productivity decrease that this brings, and millions of people go back home unsatisfied. But imagine that you have built the relations with the right people. Imagine that the right people can listen to your ideas and can trust you. This way, employee satisfaction goes up, companies' results and profits goes up. People are good at what they are doing, they get the right positions, and due to their results, they get their promotions. Corporate relations. You know that relations and trust is the currency in business. People need to know they can trust you. Most companies expect that corporate relations and trust development is the job of the executives and hopefully the business development units. But imagine how a corporation, a company, or a startup can be transformed if they give the right tools to all their employees to build trust relations during each process they go through. Professional networking has plenty of tools that can transform each interaction of your employees with externals to an opportunity to build new valuable relations. Companies that have tried that have seen revolutionary results in terms of marketing, business development, trust development. Communities, something that's a little bit closer to us. All over the world, and especially in the US, the power of communities has been realized. More and more companies are building communities. And why? There is a great book by Seth Godin, it's called Tribes, and explains well. And I highly recommend it to anyone interested in creating impact through organizations and companies. They have come to realize that communities are the business development and marketing vehicle of the future. Mass advertisement is dying. We have all been trained not to listen. I mean, think when was the last time you bought a product because you saw it on TV? Or bought a service because you read an automated email? We have been trained not to listen. I mean, Gmail automatically sends advertisement to other folders. We use AdBlock to avoid ads. But when a friend talks excited about something, when a friend recommends something, then we listen. We want to be a part of it. In the words of networking, communities are networks of people with an established commonality and the glue that keeps them together. When the glue is strong and the commonality clearly defined, then hundreds or thousands of people are ready to spread the company's message and build trust. These are just examples of how we can use professional networks in companies. I can go on and on, but this is not what we are here for. I will focus on a very small and very specific part of professional relations, networking during events. What I want you to know is that we're going to discuss some very basic ideas and the way they can be applied. So the question we're trying to answer could be, what do you do when you go to an event, decided to meet people you don't know and who, potentially, can help you achieve your personal and professional goals? Although simple, this is the wrong approach. It is too egocentric, and in a society that information travels fast, focusing only on you will soon make you known for it. Being self-centered is not just ethically wrong, it is just not working anymore. So the question is actually a little bit different. How can you build the foundations of a meaningful, win-win relations during events? And this is the question we are going to answer. It's a little bit different. It looks more in the long term. And it doesn't focus only on you, but it focuses on creating value for everybody. Just a word of advice before we start. We are going to discuss many tips and techniques. What I want you to do is basically to find the ones that fit your personality more and go out and have fun with them. Sometimes they're going to work, sometimes they're not. But there is nothing more enjoyable than to have a person around who is having fun. All I want is to help you transform the way you see daily interactions. The first thing we need to understand, in order to understand daily interactions, are the barriers. Basically, whenever you're going to approach a person, you have to overcome two barriers. The first barrier is actually getting you listened by him, managing to talk to that person, or send an email and have that person read your email. This is the first barrier, managing to be listened to, manage to talk to that person. The second barrier is a little bit more difficult. What you're trying to achieve there is actually to get into the head and the heart of that person. You want to convince that person that you're a person worth listening to. These are the two barriers. And what I want you to do from now on is basically analyze every situation that you are into in terms of these barriers. I'll share an example with you. Imagine that you are in an event that's called, for example, networking drinks. Just the name of the event has already set the frame. Everybody there is expecting to network. Everybody there is really open to new conversations. What that means is that the first barrier is low, which means that you don't need to put a lot of effort to actually start talking with someone. What happens with the second barrier? Usually in the beginning of that event, the second barrier is also relatively low. People are willing to listen to you. People are willing to discuss more details about what you're doing. But as the time passes, the night comes, people get more tired, they already had a lot of conversations. The second barrier is going higher and higher. Another example could be the main speakers in an event. Imagine that you want to talk with that very specific person who is a speaker in the event. The situation is very simple. Everybody wants to talk with that person. What that means, that he will be in the middle and he will have 20 people around him. Immediately you realize that the first barrier, managing to talk to that person, is really high. during that event. Let's think about the second barrier. To have so many people around him, he knows that everybody wants to talk with him. That immediately puts him in a position of power to select only the most interesting ideas. That means that the competition is high. Basically, your second barrier is also really high. Maybe that means that it's not the right time to approach that person. Maybe you can find another way in an environment that doesn't have the barrier so high in order to approach him. Or maybe you need to find a way to trick the barriers. A simple trick that I've used many times basically involves taking a small note, writing exactly what you were going to tell him in 2 or 3 sentences, your value, getting through the crowd, approaching him and telling, you know what, I see that you're overflowing with people. There are so many people around you. That must be a lot of pressure on you. I just don't want to spend your time. I just want to give you this note. Please, when you have 5 minutes, take a moment and read it. What have you actually done during that simple movement? You realize the first barrier. It's really difficult to talk with him, and you actually have it. You just need to enter for 20 seconds, give the note, and get out. The second barrier, the person is not going to read the message right away. He's going to read it when he's alone, when he's going away. What that means is that the second barrier is also lower. Basically, you give him a message that he can read in his own time when he feels more comfortable. This is just small examples of how you can use the barriers. In this moment, I want you to think of instances that you didn't manage to create a contact during events. And I would be happy to discuss it during the Q&A session and see how you could have done it better, or what else could you have tried. Now, let's see how can we simplify the initial contact and give a good, strong first impression. To start, I'm only talking about initial contacts with people that you don't already know who they are, and for people that you meet in a physical location. Approaching people that you already know, but they don't know you, or approaching people online is a whole other game with great tools that can help you build those relations. We're going to discuss first body language. Basically, before you enter a conversation between 2 people, the first thing you need to do is basically observe what is their body language. Imagine that you see 2 people talking. Should you enter or not? If you see that those 2 people are looking to each other, the shoulders of the one person are looking to the shoulders of the other person. Their feet, the most honest part of our body, is pointing to the other person. That means that they are engaged in an interesting conversation, and probably you should not enter. But if you see that their shoulders start to look to other directions, away from each other, or their feet are looking towards the door or some other direction, that means that at least one of the people there is probably not enjoying the conversation, and you might be welcome to enter. The second part has to do with the topic identification. A lot of times, when we enter in a conversation, we have no idea what they are talking about. And then we are asking people to actually explain to us, or go back and repeat whatever they said. That doesn't create a good impression. So the first thing I would like to ask you is basically to listen first, if it is possible. Stay close to the team. Identify what they talk about, what they are enthusiastic about. This way, you don't need to ask anyone for what they are talking about, or you don't need to ask them to repeat whatever they were talking about. And then the process is very simple. You need to lead with questions. If a conversation is interesting, then the only thing you need to say is it okay if I join the conversation? It sounds interesting. As simple as that. Is it okay if I join the conversation? It sounds interesting. This does 2 things. First thing, people like to be interesting. People love to be interesting. So by telling them that what they're discussing is interesting, basically you're telling them that you are interesting. So basically you create the good atmosphere when you enter. The second part is that you put them in the position where they can give approval. You're asking them, can I join you? Everybody likes to be in a position to give approval. And this makes you entering this conversation a welcome visit. Now, I want to insist on a point here. Your goal is to create an environment that allows for open communication. You're not trying to manipulate people. You're trying to connect with them. You're trying to create the right atmosphere so you can actually discuss honestly. In the lead with question part, we have something else that we usually call be the idiot. Basically, a lot of times when we enter conversations, most people are trying to show how smart they are. I'm insisting, lead with questions. Ask the questions that make them excited, not you. They say that people forget 95% of the things you are going to discuss with them, but they always remember how you made them feel. And this is your goal. You want to make them feel good about you. You want to create a nice atmosphere. So ask them about the things that they are excited about. Ask them about the things they want to talk about. They will remember you with a very, very nice feeling. Now, you managed to get the initial contact, and this is great. But how do you make sure that you're welcome? There are a lot of techniques. Again, I invite you to test what works for you and what makes you feel better. Rapport creation is a huge topic, and we're going to discuss just two very small elements. You know that people, as I said, always remember how you made them feel. And it's proven that people feel better in the company of similar people. Think about fans of the same football team, or groups of people that are all dressed the same way. They have a commonality. They like the same team. They're dressing the same way. That connects them. Whenever you manage to discover a commonality with another person, that gives you one more connection. Discovering commonalities can get you a long way. The more questions you ask, as we mentioned before, the more commonalities you will find out. The more rare the commonalities, the better. Now, a lot of times we believe that the commonalities should be only professional, but usually it's better if they are not. I mean, imagine that you have similar experiences, or you have visited similar locations, or you both have children. That's already something that connects you in a personal level. You might even have the same hobby. You might have common people in your network. These are all commonalities that you can actually leverage on. These are all commonalities that can help you build a stronger relation. And this is what you need. So try to ask as many questions as possible about what other people are doing in order to discover that commonalities and create those connections. For people that are interested in getting a little bit deeper into that, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a great tool. What Maslow did is basically he created a triangle, and at the bottom, he put all the most important and basic needs of people, the survival needs. So food, water, whatever they need to survive. And as you go higher to the pyramid, you actually start seeing more and more needs that are more sophisticated. It has to do with self-fulfillment, with career success. If you look at the pyramid, then you can actually identify 1,000 categories that can actually find connections in. Now, sometimes we are not so good in asking the right questions. Some other times we don't have the time to ask the right questions. So discovering commonalities can take you a long way, but if you don't have these resources of good questions and time in your hands, maybe you should start creating commonalities, because this can get you even further. Now, what do I mean by creating? Basically, science has shown that we connect easier with people that behave similar to the way we do. How do we take that to our advantage in order to create an environment of open communication? There are three basic techniques that we can use. The first one is called mirroring. Mirroring is very simple. You just are mirroring the movements of the other person. If he's sitting relaxed, you're sitting relaxed. If he's sitting back, you're sitting back. If you're sitting forward, interested in what you're saying, you're sitting forward too. This way, the brain sees the similarity and actually creates a connection. I invite you to start playing with that in the beginning with friends to see how you can actually do it. I want you to be careful not to overdo it, of course, but try to be subtle and try to do it for a couple of times. You will be really surprised by how many times and how many things you can actually mirror without people realizing that you're doing it. Pacing. Pacing is basically talking with the same speed of talk as the other person. You know, people that speak really fast, like me, we are used to that. We are talking like that for our whole life. And we are used to hear other people talking fast. We like that. It's a commonality. People that are talking slow are used to talk slow for the whole life. That's again a commonality. So whenever you meet someone, try to find out if you can actually talk with the same speed as they do. That usually makes them feel more comfortable and more relaxed. And this is what you're trying to achieve. Energy. Now, I'm using the word energy in the least technical sense ever. Basically, I'm talking about emotional states. And I want you to imagine the following story. Imagine that you have a baby in front of you. You have many times seen a baby crying. And then you have the mother coming. And the mother is trying to get the attention of the baby. Usually what happens is that the mother starts to talk higher and higher and higher till she gets the attention of the baby. And then, when she has the attention of the baby, then she starts talking lower and lower and lower and lower and lower. You're actually connecting with the person at the same emotional level, so he understands that you understand his state. And then, when you establish that connection, you can actually even control how the rest of the conversation goes. Just by fitting your energy, your emotional state, your level of voice, your speed, your position, you can actually create a lot of commonalities to help the other people feel more comfortable. Now, getting into the trouble of having a good initial contact and of creating the right environment is meaningless unless you succeed in the 3 goals of this conversation. Because if you fail, then you haven't created the conditions to follow up and start building up this relation. So in each conversation, your goal is very simple. First thing you need to do is to identify what is the other person's vision and goals. Basically, what this person wants to achieve in life. It might be professional, about his career, or it might be personal. Understanding what the other person's vision is a very, very powerful tool. The second part you need to understand is what are the other person's challenges? What are his pains, her difficulties? What are the people that are missing from his network? Maybe he doesn't have time to do what he wants to do. There are a lot of challenges that everybody is facing every day. And there is a reason I'm asking you to understand the vision and the challenges. And the reason is very simple. If you manage to understand the vision and the challenges, then you can actually get to the third level, support. Basically, you can identify the answer to the question, how can I help that person? How can I help? Because if you don't manage to help that person somehow, then you are not differentiating yourself. You're not creating the base for a connection. You're not creating a strong base for a follow-up. How can I help? There are thousands of ways. You might have information on a certain topic. You might have articles that you can send to him. You might have some people that you can introduce him to, or you might have a little bit of extra time and you can help him. There are a lot of ways that you can help. So focusing on visions, challenges, and support must be your 3 goals out of each conversation, because this one builds the base for each connection afterwards. You need to be able to send an email and have people actually looking at it, opening it, and responding to you, or giving them a call, and you need to be able to provide value so they can actually give you back a response about that value. Now, let's go to the last part, common mistakes. There are a lot of things that we can say, but if we say them at the wrong moment, we can create the wrong results. What are the common mistakes, the common things that we usually say that can actually destroy our networking efforts? First one, here's my business card. Sometimes it's correct to say it, but giving a business card without being asked to, without someone asking you for that information, it might not be the right deal. If the person hasn't asked you for your contact information, probably he does not want or need it. So do not try to force it. It creates a needy impression. Moreover, probably he will not even remember you. You might as well take 20 cents, the average cost of a business card, out of your pocket and throw it in the garbage. If he hasn't asked for your business card, it's better if you don't give it. Can I have your business card? Asking for contact information without explaining the value to the other person first might be horribly wrong. You are planning to use time by sending an email or call. Are you sure it's valuable for him or her? And most importantly, is he or she sure about that? Do they know you're going to provide some kind of value? So make always sure that you have explained the value before you give your business card or before you ask a business card. Can I have your business card? Number 2. Well, imagine the following scenario. Imagine that you are talking with a person you want to talk. This very important person that you want to have in your network. And this person is surrounded by 5, 10 other people, all of them willing to talk. But you manage to sneak in. You manage to actually get his attention. Probably he likes you a lot. You're like, okay, this is the time to take the contact information. By asking that question in front of everybody, you probably are doing a big mistake. First reason, imagine that the person likes you. Imagine that he wants to give you his business card, and he does. And then people from around start asking, oh, can I have also your business card? You're actually putting him in a very difficult position. He was feeling well about you, and now he's starting to feel bad because of you. Because he might not want to give his business card to all these people. He doesn't know them. He doesn't know the value. Why should he? And then he might be forced, because of the social pressure, to give the card, or you might have to deny in front of everybody. Again, feeling bad. Now imagine that he doesn't even like you. Then again, you're putting him in a difficult situation. You're making your relation even worse. That person doesn't like you, but now he has the social pressure from all the people looking around, and he might give you the business card just for that reason. Or he might just say no. And again, you look bad, he looks bad. And let's go to the next one, my favorite. So I need to start talking about what you need before identifying what the other person needs. Has to be avoided. Remember, the first contact is not to ask for the things you need. The first contact is to build the foundation of the relationship. The goal is to create a relation that will allow you to communicate with the other person again in good terms. If you don't manage to do that, then it doesn't matter if he knows what you need. Again, knowing what you need, hearing you, managing to talk with the right person is what we called before the first barrier. But if you create a foundation for a relation, then everything else is secondary. You don't even need to ask for the contact information. I mean, we live in a digital era. If you go to rocketreach.com, you can actually put the LinkedIn link of the person you want to talk to, and it search all around the internet to give you the emails. And a lot of times you get personal emails and professional emails. You don't need to ask for it. You can find it. If you go to hunter.com and you just put the company's extension, let's say, for example, whatever, Microsoft, EDP.com, it gives you all email addresses of the employees of that company that are available or have been used in public web pages. By the way, if you work in a company, I just invite you to just put your email extension and find out if your email is visible. The web page was hunter.co. And then at the end of the day, you just have the plain old LinkedIn, right? Even if you're not in contact with a person you want to talk to, the only thing you need to do is to join a group that that contact belongs to. Because LinkedIn allows you to contact them by email for free, even if you're not personal contacts, just because you belong in the same group. The only thing you need to do, you just go to the members list of that group, and while hovering the mouse over the person's profile, you just see the option to send an email. It will appear. You can contact almost anybody. What you need is not the contact information. What you need is the right reason for him or her to answer. And now let's go to the last one. A lot of people are getting really excited about networking. They go to an event and they are trying to meet as many people as possible. So they finish with the one and then they go to the other one. This is the one. He's done. Where is the next one? He's done. Let's go to the other one. Although meeting a lot of people can bring you a lot of opportunities if you create the right relations, I wouldn't recommend it. What I would recommend is to always stop for a minute after each conversation with a person and write things down. Write things down, write everything you remember. And most importantly, I invite you all to start trying that the next days, after each conversation you have, to ask yourself and write down, do I know what the other person tries to achieve? The vision and the goal? Write it down. It might be on your mobile, it might be in a notepad, it might be over his or her business card. Just write it down. What are his challenges? Write it down. It's important because those information will actually help you to find a way to help him or her. So write down, do I know how can I help that person? If you have some ideas, just throw them in there. And then keep them with you and revisit them after the event. And then act, help, build relations. Actions give results. People open doors. This is the right time to start building your network. So all I'm asking you is just take the ideas we discussed, go out, and have some fun with it. Marlois, back to you.
Thank you, Dimitris. That was a really nice and interesting presentation. Thank you for that. And I think for our alumni, it's especially nice to hear the story from one of their peers, and because they might have the same look at it as you have. So please raise your hands by clicking on this little hand on your right-hand side if you have any questions for Dimitris. Can be anything. Or if you feel it's not the right moment. Yeah.
This is Jacob. I'm giving the CG raised hand. So CG, you should be able to speak now.
Good. I am not hearing CG.
Yeah. Hey, Dimitris. Okay. What's your specific recommendation for Alumni Unite participants?
It's Claudio.
Recommendation for Alumni Unite. Let's see. The idea there is the following, that you have 200, 300 participants. You can see that you have a lot of similarities with most of them. There are a lot of things that already connect you in terms of vision, in terms of goal, in terms of career. And this is something very basic and very important because you already have a connection point. But if you want to create a stronger relation, then you need to actually focus on all the things that are around that vision. So basically, you already have established the commonalities, some of the business part, some of the career part, some of the vision part for most of us, working around changing the environment, saving the world in the ways that we can. But then, if you want to give an extra tip, you just need to basically focus on what are the other things that connect you with people. One very important thing that we have in the Alumni Unite is basically that you have people from basically all around Europe and a lot of people outside from Europe. What that does basically is that if you start connecting with a lot of people, they give you access to a lot of information from different countries. So whenever in the future you would like to ask for information, you would like to ask to know something about those countries that can actually help you with your career or your business, you can actually have already created a network of people all around the world that can give you this information. Strategic geolocation of networks is something that we use a lot when we want to create a network out of scratch. But Alumni Unite actually gives you the opportunity to do that right away in the
Thank you. And how could I prepare best for the event?
Very nice. Preparing for the event. The first thing that I believe most people are not doing is basically realizing what is that they need to get out of the event. Because everybody is challenged by something. Everybody's trying to achieve something, right? And we have so many times that people ask, So how can I help you? They actually ask us. And we are just caught like with the hands up and we're like, oh, well, I don't know, maybe, no, the first thing you need to do before you go to an event is realize what are the challenges. This is my problems, this is what I'm trying to solve, this is my vision. Because if you are not able to communicate what is your own problem, what is your own vision, then no one will be able to help you back. You will be just helping other people, which is great, but time is a limited resource. You cannot just keep doing that. You need to create win-win situation. You need to know how to help people, and you need to know how to actually get help back. So for me, the most basic and important thing is before you go to the event, actually analyze what is my challenges right now, what I'm looking for, what are the people I would like to have, what is the information I would like to have, and then just start telling people when they ask you about it.
You clearly know what you're talking about. Thanks, Dimitris.
You make me blush. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other questions, maybe? I cannot see.
Wim, do you have a question?
Yes. Thank you, Dimitris, for the excellent presentation. I'm actually here with a number of colleagues, PhD students and researchers. I have a quick question. Do you have any recommendations about the difference when you meet researchers or business people?
Very good question. Very good. Well, basically, you need to understand something, that the way that the academic world is working is a little bit different than the business world, right? A lot of times in business world, we basically focus really strictly on the value provided. And people are really easy in talking about, okay, this is what I get, this is what I bring to the table, this is what you bring to the table. In the academic world, it works a little bit different. People are used to actually interact in a more intellectual level, in the sense that you're actually measuring people depending on what they know, what they have written about, what they're very good at in sense of knowledge. In the business world, you're actually focusing on what have people, what each person's company can provide. Okay, so one quick recommendation is that if you actually start talking with people from the academic world, again, you need to be able to tell, okay, this is what I'm looking for. In your case, what exactly are you looking for the academic world?
It can be anything, just to cooperate with people on a particular topic or even project proposals.
Okay, so the first thing you need to think about is the commonality. So in both cases, we are talking about people, right? So whatever we discussed before actually applies really well to everybody that you meet. It doesn't matter if they are a CEO of a company, if it's a PhD student, if it's a person that's unemployed, if it's anything else, right? But again, it depends on what you are trying to achieve. Because in a business environment, it's a lot more specific, the goal. In an environment that you have education, it might be something completely different. So what I suggest in doing is the following. Use the link that you see down there, bit.ly Strategic Networks. Find my contact information and just send me an email and telling me, Dimitris, these are the things that we are trying to achieve, this is what we want. And then 2 to 3 days after, you already have a response of what I propose you to do. Does that work for you?
Yes, of course. If I have a more detailed question, I will contact you. Thank you.
Thanks. Just use the link downstairs, bit.ly Strategic Networks.
Okay, thank you, Dimitris.
Welcome.
Great. Any more questions? So Dimitris, how can people connect with you after this webinar?
So basically with a link that you can see down there, bit.ly/Strategic Networks, you can actually see my profile on LinkedIn. There you have my contact information. If you just want to drop me an email, it's dimitrisbrownowski@gmail.com. No periods, no spaces, as it is, dimitrisbrownowski@gmail.com.
And during Alumni Unite, how to approach you?
Well, I will be right there. I will have one speech on networking in the second day. and in the way that we can create relations and the way that can transform our lives. And also in the first day, I will also talk a little bit. So people will see me right there, just come and say hi.
Great, we will all do that.
Perfect.
Thank you, Dimitris, for such an inspiring presentation. I think we will have no new questions anymore, right? Then I'll thank everyone for attending. We will send the recordings to you by email, to everyone who signed up. And, well, hopefully we'll see each other at Alumni Unite next week. Thank you very much. Dimitris, do you want to close maybe with some
Sure. Just one thing.
final?
Ideas usually don't get you anywhere. It's the execution that takes you somewhere. So all I'm asking is just the next day, start playing with those things that we discussed. Marlois will send you the presentation, so you will have, you can see what we discussed just as a reminder. Just try it, play around with it, see what works, and please, when we meet during the event, just tell me what worked and what didn't. I would love to hear about it.
That would be great. Okay, thank you everyone, and have a good day. Bye-bye.